1. There we go. And we're live. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. My name is Paladin, and today we're going to be talking about how our third week in helping other people grow Discord community servers has been going. And I'm here along with Gabriel and two new friends as well that had just joined from SPG. Say hello, guys.
Hello, guys.
Hello.
Hello. Hi. Gabriel, are you here?
Gabriel said he had to take a leak earlier. I don't know if he's back yet.
He might not be here. Okay. Well, hopefully he'll be back here soon. So this week, what we're going to talk about a lot is about growth systems and also strategic partnering. And so this is something that is very common, especially in the Discord space, whenever other Discord communities are looking to connect with other servers and then trying to find a meaningful way in order to help each other out. But before that, I do want to spend some time to kind of go over what it is that we've talked about for the last 2 weeks. So the first week we had gone over is the mindset shift of not only the server owner, but also trying to get the people that are in their servers to make a change and to come together and collaborate towards something that they create together. And so that first week, it ends up being one of the hardest weeks to really get past, because it's not just up to the owner. If it was only up to the owner, then I guess it'd be a lot easier. But because it also involves other people, it also requires that by that point, that the owner or the server owner would have made some connections and had some rapport with the people that are there in order to convince them to come on this journey with them. And so it's a little hard to make a community server change so dramatically from the start when it's very small or very, very new. But it is possible if it's with people that you have known before. And so if you're in a spot where there's not that many people with you and your server and you feel like it's not going to work, you never know unless you try. And even if it is, you could ask anyway, and the worst thing that happens is they say no. But the best thing that could happen is that they say yes, and then you get a person or two to come and help you along with getting where you want to get to. And so I think that while we wait for Gabriel to get back, do y'all two want to talk a little bit about what you guys had learned in looking at the week 1 material?
I guess I could start.
Yeah.
What I learned is I had to have a mindset shift. I went into my server with this sort of like business first mentality, which was natural because I'm running my server for my professional GMing gig. So it was only natural. I viewed it as business first, but I realized that that's really not the approach people want to go for. There's literally hundreds of other DMs out there want to start playing. At any given moment, there's a game running. And even if I run a good game, there's a lot of good GMs out there. And I realized that a consistent way to get people to come back is to just build loyalty. And the best way to do that is to just be a guy people want to be around. And even better if like their party are also people that just want to be around. And really the only way to do that is to just talk to them. And like a no strings attached, no business way. Just like talk to them for the sake of actually wanting to befriend them and wanting to get to know them. And that's a mindset shift that I realize I have to make. So like from now on, I realize I have to be a lot more social. Like a community, it doesn't just happen, it has to be built. Even if I get like 1,000 people on the server, if I don't actually take the steps to make it a community, it's just 1,000 people on a server that won't talk to each other.
I think you took the word right out of my mouth. You said it exactly perfectly. It's exactly that, yeah. And yeah, I agree. I think approaching people authentically from a human-to-human perspective is one of the best ways of being able to make connections with others, trying to genuinely try to get to know them, see what they're all about, introducing them in. But yeah, no, I'm glad that you got so much from the last week. Sounds like you really paid attention. So thank you. And Gabriel, are you here yet? No. Okay. So
Yeah, I'm back. I'm
You're
back.
back. Okay, awesome. So Gabriel, how's your last week been with your server? I know that from what I remember last week you had talked with your community and you had
We decided on events.
that's what it was. And so do you guys
So-
decide what event you're gonna run?
Yeah, well, not yet. I've been talking to them. I'm not sure yet what kind of event would like help our community. That's the thing I am stuck on. So I think we talked last time we met that I can build events like we can play Gartic or watch movies, but what does that accomplish? I still haven't figured out like what event will accomplish something for the community.
And so whenever you talked
Yeah,
with them about it, what did they say about that problem? Whenever you asked them, like, hey, like guys, I have this problem, so what should we do?
I haven't expressed that problem to them yet.
Okay, you know, it might help a lot to go to them with that, because whenever it comes to community things, no one expects anyone to have all the answers. I mean, even the GM doesn't know it 100% of the time, right? Sometimes you just have to like just wing it or pick up a rule and go look at it later. I think it's okay to go to them because you're kind of in this space where you're kind of more equals, even though you are still the server owner. But trying to include them does mean that also means that the problems that you're having in growing this are also their problems as well. And so whenever you don't allow them to try to be a solution to the problem, it removes them from the conversation and takes their agency away in a way. Because it's like saying, like Dad, like I don't need your help, even though I wanted your help, but now I don't need it. It's a little bit, it could be confusing, I guess, to some people, to say one thing and then do another, and that's something that that is very common actually. Whenever server owners, they are very used to being able to be facilitators, they like to give and they like to do things, but it's almost like they might do a little too much, and in doing so they take away from what others could have learned, or maybe take away from something that maybe someone else could have done, you know. And so being able to give that chance, it is very it could feel very vulnerable in the moment, but I think that it would help strengthen everything overall, because then it shows that you are trying to keep them in the conversation about it.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, you could try that though, and it doesn't have to be fast, right? Like you just started your server, and so it's like, how long are you giving yourself to try to get an event together?
Well, I gave myself 2 weeks to get an event together.
Okay, and how long has it been?
A week?
A week. Okay, so you still got another week. Hey, so look, you got 7 more days, so you might maybe give yourself a little bit more time, just in case, because I know there's a lot going on. But yeah, I think trying to include them would be great. But also, and this kind of goes into what week 3 is about, is that there has to be a consistent pattern to what it is that to what leadership is doing, essentially, whenever it comes to growing their servers. And so I'll be the first to admit, like, I sometimes am a little sporadic because of my ADHD. Can't help it sometimes. But it does help to have a very consistent system of like, okay, well, I'm gonna post updates like on this day, or I'm gonna reach out to people on this day, or I'm gonna try to reach out, say hi to people when they join the server about this many minutes after, if I could. And so the most successful Discord servers are the ones that have already implemented a way to find people and also keep them, so that way they stay in the server and they keep coming back in order to keep talking and engaging with the other people. But also the second thing is that the most successful Discord servers have a way of identifying and making relationships with other communities that are kind of similar to them, and also have a technical infrastructure that allows them to have a lot of freedom, so that way people don't burn out. Has anyone here ever seen like a Discord community just like fizzle out from burnout? I've seen it a few times.
Yeah, I've seen it happen as well. Where it's sort of just like you have the few active people that are sort of like carrying the server and the conversations and the things that are going on. And like all it really takes is like a month where they can't really be there. You know, maybe they're sick, they're traveling, or just busy, or just whatever. And then like the momentum all just comes crashing down. And then like even if they come back, it feels so forced.
Yep, that's exactly how I kind of felt here. So it's exactly that. Whenever the server is at a point where you can step away for a month and you can come back and the conversation is still going, that's whenever you know things are good. And we had talked about this a lot in the past, but to kind of give a little bit of a summary of what to do to kind of get to the point of having that, it's a lot of collaborating with people at the start and trying to be very clear about what it is that you're wanting to get out of the server. Like, what is the server trying to do? So like here in Paladin's Archives, we essentially are trying to help people connect together in the TTRPG space. And so one way that I do that is that I help other professional GMs by building automations for them. I also used to run West Marches as well. And so I used to connect people together through West Marches. And I also make West Marches content as well. So that's the way that I help other people connect. And also, you know, helping y'all in order to connect people through your service. And so that's my vision and goal here. And there's a couple of people that follow along with this, but it does take having a very clear vision of where you want to go. Because if not, then it's kind of like, well, yeah, I'm going to follow this guy, but he doesn't really know where he's wanting to go or what he's wanting to do. So then they would also not really be sure how to help. And so having a very clear path, at least the first couple of steps, is something that I would definitely recommend before talking with other people about what it is that you want to do with your server. And sometimes some people don't have an idea. I think that one of the hardest things is trying to make a meaningful vision and mission for the server, when often that requires other people to kind of be there to also support and believe in that as well. So it's kind of like, what comes first, the chicken or the egg, right? And I think that it's probably a lot more of a natural thing that happens whenever this Discord community gets a little bit bigger, maybe around 50, maybe closer to 100. But it also can't happen at any point. It just needs the right people to be there at the right time, which is either going to be luck or intentionally looking for those people to be there. And that's what the acquisition part is all about whenever I'm talking about that here. So how do you find the right people, and how do you know that those people would be the people that belong in the server for what it is you're trying to do, and trying to give as much as you can to those people and trying to find more of them. And that could be a bit of a hard task at first. It's in business, we call it an avatar, right? So being able to know who it is that you give service to the best, and being able to identify not only, you know, what their pain points are, but also what they like and other things about their life. So that way you can more easily give to those people. But what do you guys think? How's all that sound?
I think you said it well, but it's like you have to actually find out what you're trying to do with the community. Because if you're just like talking a lot of people are just going to be like, okay, I'm just getting a bunch of notifications from the server. Why is he talking so much? Like, if you actually like make it something where people see your server, they see the engagement, and they think to themselves, wow, I want to be a part of this, rather than just, oh, hey, look, it's that one DM who's just trying to talk to everyone, then like you're more likely to actually have them interact. So yeah, I do agree. It helps a lot to actually have like a community vision, rather than you just talking for the sake of talking and nobody wants to join in because you're just talking into an empty space.
Yeah, it could be very, that could be very, that could be very awkward. But it does take a lot of courage though. Sometimes I sit here in the archives alone, and sometimes some people join me, sometimes some people don't. But it's like kind of like leaving an open invitation for someone else But if we don't try, then we never really know unless we try and just keep trying. But I think that like you're right, like it is a little weird to just send a message and then also ping people for no reason is also a very it's the quickest way to get people to be annoyed and then mute everything, right? So we don't want that. But kind of getting back to the topic at hand though, so last week we talked about how to run events and also what kind of events are the ones that really get communities up and going, and also what metrics can be tracked in order to know if you're going in the right direction, and also what the metrics mean. But in all, the number one thing that really works out the best, which should really come to no surprise for anyone that's been following the channel, is that West Marches are the ones that really accommodate an immense amount of scaling. I mean, it could potentially even scale infinitely, but there are lots of servers out there that are more than 200 to even 2,000 or more members big. That includes the GMs as well, with multiple time zones and having ways for people to connect with each other. However, there's a little bit of a catch with this, because the thing about West Marches is that, hold on, I guess I should stop myself first. Does everyone here know what a West March is, or does anyone want me to explain it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay.
I understand what the concept is, but I have never run it or been a part of one.
Okay.
Yeah, same. I know like what they are, but I've never I've never played in one or run one.
Okay, just making sure before I went forward. So essentially with West Marches, there is an immense amount of energy that the players are having to put in order to keep the game going. And so the players are the ones that are coordinating with each other, they're talking with each other, and the DMs are the ones that are making the world, but the players are the ones that are leading it. Which means that the players, who are many more of them than the GMs, are going to be very busy interacting with this game and with each other as a result. Now, naturally, that means that the players are essentially, in all their interactions in a West March, are playing the game even when they're not at a session, which takes all the oxygen out of the room. So even though West Marches are really good at connecting people together, it actually doesn't really work really well when trying to grow your own server that is not necessarily a West March, but then also having a West March. And that's something that happened to me here, exactly. Before I started teaching more of the professional GM side in December, I was running West Marches. And what I found out over time is that it had a very conflicting ambience here. And so the players were trying to have their space, but at the same time, the GMs are trying to come in, and they're not really on the same level of what it is that they're here for, right? So like, you have people that are paying to be in a game, and you have professional GMs that are here to learn that don't really have much middle ground. And so what ended up happening is that I took the West March and I moved it to another server. And so they're technically, that server is still technically a part of the archives, but it's like a subsection. So it's not seen here, but it's somewhere else instead. And so that in that way, it kind of opened the way for players to more organically talk with GMs, the professional side, while still being able to have their games, but it's just a matter of where the space is at. So that's something that I came up with that solved the problem of being able to have a conversation here and not having something take over. It's also the same thing with running normal games as well. If a large amount of the conversation that's happening is from running games, or what's happening at the sessions or between sessions, or talking with each other about the upcoming sessions, then it doesn't leave much room for connection and engagement. And so trying to mix it up a little bit about what's being talked about and trying to talk about things that don't relate to the game between sessions would help immensely. And the more that people focus on connecting the players together, it actually creates a really good, long and much longer retention rate for players staying in a game. And it's just dependent on how fast and how well the connections are made whenever they first join. And so it's typically within the first 15 to 30 minutes when a person joins, when they get their first impression. And that will largely define whether they're going to be coming back consistently, or they're just going to be coming back whenever, they're here for the game. But there you go. So what do you guys think about that part?
I think the part you mentioned where you divide spaces into like smaller servers, depending on like maybe like a game people have in common or just something like people really specifically share in common. That's an idea that like when you mentioned it, it got me thinking because
Yeah.
I feel like that could work quite a bit. If I just make maybe not servers, like it could be servers. It could also just be separate channels and stuff like that, or separate like categories. But like even servers as a whole, I think that's something like I'm gonna think about because I feel like that has a lot of potential to work.
Absolutely. And Gabriel and Helic, what about y'all? What do you guys think?
It's interesting to hear about because that's a kind of problem with the lack of oxygen or so on that I didn't really think about before or haven't really encountered since I'm usually the guy in Discord servers who reads or listens. I'm not usually that active. But it's good to know that's something to look out for.
Yeah, it's a scene. Well, where's all the energy being sent to? And if you look at some of the sources, it cites that that for every channel that there is very little to no engagement. So if there's been less than 4 messages in the last, it said in the last week. So in the last 7 days, if there's been less than 4 messages, to cut it and or try to consolidate it with something else. Because for every channel that's like that, you actually end up having a decrease in engagement by 3 to 5% per channel, and it amplifies depending on the total amount more than that. But yeah, in regards to transactional conversation versus meaningful connection conversation, it's hard to just be able to insert it randomly. I think it's a lot better received whenever it revolves around either a common interest or trying to get something going, like an event, trying to keep people on a conversation. But what I did find out in researching for week 1 is that if anything else, if you have very minimal time, just being able to say hi to people within the first 1 to 2 hours, preferably. But if you whenever you can see, whenever you do see them, say hi to them and ask them a question that has nothing to do with what the server is there for. So if you're running games, then ask them something that doesn't have anything to do with D&D. So like here, whenever people join, we try to say like, hey, like, do you guys like chewy or crunchy snacks? And then we ask them what kind of snacks they like. And then, it has nothing to do with D&D, but it kind of opens the conversation for a little bit more. And so, maybe, like I like gummy worms, so I like chewy snacks. And so someone that joins that likes chewy snacks, I can make a connection with those people. And so that's kind of like they made a friend immediately. It kind of invites them in to be able to talk to then more people and want to try to be a part of the community. But in addition to that, just being able to say one message in the general chatting will mark about 87% of the effectiveness and also the ability to have community try and say something. So if anything, trying to not only just say hi to people, but trying to say hi in the general chatting, you kind of knock out 2 birds with 1 stone. And that's kind of what I did here. And so if you guys look at the general chatting, or the general chaos as it's called here, you'll see that whenever people join, it puts it right in there. So that way people know that, hey, someone joined, and it's also in the general chatting as well. So that way it kind of covers both sides, and people that are here can see that someone new has joined. And so, but yeah, just being able to have that consistent something, even if it's just you talking to yourself for a couple of days for a long time, it's a lot better than saying nothing, because at least you are trying. But it does help to ask a question and then tagging someone about whatever that question is, so something meaningful that could carry a dialogue rather than just saying hi. And so those kind of things tend to help out a lot. Also, hello, welcome.
I'm just realizing as I continue doing the Pro GM thing, I'm just now realizing how hard it is to me to maintain communication with like 20 new people that I don't know personally. I was not aware of that part of myself.
Well, I don't think that it's possible to connect on a deep level with 20 people, but I think that you can show genuine interest and friendliness to people whenever you meet them, and I think that goes a long way. Just being able to be like, hey, like talking to them like a normal person whenever you meet them, and because then they kind of get a good vibe off of you, and they would then feel a little bit more secure and open to talk about other things. But it's just one step at a time, right? Like it is a lot though. You're right. 20 people at one time is quite a lot. You just gotta have to take it one step at a time. And realistically, like you're probably gonna be developing those relationships over the course of months as you're playing D&D. Because like, how long does it take for a person to feel like they're close to someone just playing D&D? Probably like half a year or so, right? So you probably have a good bit of time.
Yeah, it's not actually about being close. It's more like I do feel like I have some sort of social battery, people call it, you know? Like, just being around, talking, and that kind of exhausts me a little bit. Like,
It comes
for
with the profession.
different people's.
It does come with the profession.
Yeah.
Of, like, you gotta entertain. You do have to get to know people. It's kind of unavoidable. You can't, unfortunately, you can't avoid people and also make money, I guess.
Yeah. I get it.
But no, you're
It's
right.
fair, totally fair.
But you're absolutely right. I think it does drain to have to give and give and give and give and give, and that's just how it is for a service provider, because a service provider does give and the other person also like provides, you know, currency in return for that service. But a Discord server owner also gives a lot too. Like they're creating the space, they're trying to create the conversation and helping lead things, and sometimes there's not a lot of talk or engagement, and so it can be very discouraging sometimes, and also it can be a lot of pressure too. And so trying to identify what it is exactly that might be the most draining things, and also what things fill you up, would help a lot. Because if you keep doing the things that are draining you over and over and over, you'll find that over time you'll have nothing left to give, and so then it'll just kind of lead to burnout at that point. That's a balance thing, right? So some people can handle a lot, and some people, you know, can handle short spurts. But being able to build tolerance and being able to build resiliency, I think that's just the thing that'll happen over time. So I think you're good. I think it's a natural thing because it's all kind of still new, right?
Mm-hmm. It is very new. It is very new. Even in my even the previous work experiences that I had before starting working with service and business, I usually was like more reserved in the office. So I'm feeling like a little, I don't know what the word for it would express, but like this kind of shock of changing the way I interact with people.
Yeah, it's a
not like 360, but
it's a cultural and social. I mean, it's an entire environment change, right? So like your entire perspective, mentally, socially, I mean, all of it too, right? So you don't have someone that is paying you and you're not on a hourly wage anymore. Now you make your own success and failure, and you're responsible for yourself. It's a very different type of environment, because it's one that, it is a very big difference, and it's very easy to slip up in one way or the other, either because you didn't know something, or you know, so something is entirely out of your hands. And so that's why business comes with a lot of risk, and that's why the people take a big chunk right home, you know, typically for the owners. But yeah, so how are you navigating that then, with knowing that, you know, that this is going on? How do you feel with it? You feel like it's getting okay, it's getting better, or do you feel like it's something that's just going to take some time to get used to?
well, I think it's gonna take a bit of time for me to get used to it. Well, like right now, I'm just now realizing that it's taking like kind of a toll. I wouldn't call it like it is super hard or anything. It's just like it is a bit exhausting to be on calls with different people every time, and it is not like the part of the call that is exhausting. It is like getting into the call. It is like thinking about talking with strangers and entertaining them. That part is way harder than actually being in the call playing Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah, you're right. I guess it would require like liking those things, being able to talk to people you don't know, and it's an art, right? Like I think if you talk to so many people, it gets better. It can be socially. I can see it being very social, like very nerve-wracking. I mean, to kind of be in that situation. But anyway, I won't put any more attention onto it. But it's a very normal feeling, I think, that you're having. I think that anyone that had just a big change in environment probably would feel the same way too. But there actually are ways to kind of help with it, and so that kind of is what comes with the three parts of what make really successful servers really good with making growth systems. Is that they not only have the way to get new members and keep them there, but they are doing that by using technology and automations in a very intelligent and deliberate way. And so things like Me6 and using not all of the options, but using the options that they do require and using them to the ability that it does help the community overall is what will make or break whether someone might stick around for next week. And the cool thing is that we all like to play games, right? So I think that we're already kind of stepped closer on this one, but trying to like gamify things, making things into a challenge, or trying to adding like a server currency. Like here we have dice in archives. Trying to add things that make it so that way people can achieve something or try to strive towards something. It does make it a lot better. And even though it might seem a little bit cheap, it does help a lot, especially with dopamine. And there's a lot of people that are neurodivergent in the TTRPG space. So being able to have little games that help with being able to keep a positive perspective and engagement here will have people wanting to then come back neurologically because they're getting a positive influence from interacting with something here. And so it just helps them to keep maintaining that positive interaction here and then wanting to come back over and over. And then eventually people would be talking with each other because of the gamification. But not all of these apps that are out there that are really good, like Me6 and Sapphire, they all have they cost something. There are some free levels to it, but it doesn't give you enough in order for you to have the exact things that you need. So it kind of becomes a little bit of a challenge at first, because it's like, well, maybe you don't have the resources, so then how do you get the resources to get the thing? And all of this is very normal, like foundation, like building a new server and also trying to get a business up going. Like, these are all very normal problems. And so if trying to work back a step from that, then what it comes back to is essentially trying to do the things that people did before technology existed, which is just talk to each other directly, at least try to. So something that I did, because I also didn't have a lot of time between sessions whenever I was running my West March, is that I would come into the VC 30 minutes before, and I would start slowing down the session, not at the hour mark we were supposed to end, but about 15 minutes before. I wouldn't say that we were over. I would just start slowly unraveling, and so we kind of naturally slow to a little bit of a halt. And then because I didn't say anything like, hey, like we're session's over or anything like that, it kind of naturally goes into more of a conversation, and that helps to try to get people to talk. So there's a little bit there. But then if people are a little bit too tired at the end, and especially if it's at the end of the day, then it might be better to try to ease that more in the beginning as opposed to the end.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that all of those things are just small fixes, right? But it's like 100,000 tiny fixes and intentional decisions that are basically going to make the accumulation of everything, like how the onboarding is, the journey from like when they join the server, all the way to whenever they start to talk with someone or even come back to an event. But for today, we're not going to talk about more about those systems because we talked about them a lot last week. And so they're there for the week 2 material. So if you're wanting to see more about technology and what exactly each one can provide and seeing a score on them and what it is that the metrics mean, then go back and look at the week 2 materials, and then that will help you a lot as well. Oh, and it'll also help you with the events. I know that you, Gabriel, and also Malik, I know that you were also asking about events. You'll find a lot of that in there. So what I want to talk about is partnering, and this is something that, yeah, I'll turn my script around so that way it's you say, you know, it's coming from me. I've partnered with quite a lot of servers in the last couple of years, and I've also unpartnered as well for various reasons. I think that whenever it comes to partnering, one of the most important things to keep in mind is it's kind of like you're asking, not literally, but it's kind of like you're asking someone to marry you in a sense. Like you're making this bond between yourself and that other person, but not only you and them, but the people in your server and the people in their server. So in a sense, you're not just creating a commitment for yourself, but you're also committing people together as well, that you are connecting and what that connection means. And so there's a lot of servers that are out there that try to approach partnering from a way that, while it might make sense, it's not necessarily the right way to go about it. And so there's a lot of people that go about with the perspective of, well, I just need more members, so I need somewhere to advertise. When the problem is not necessarily advertising, it's trying to have people identify or find you and engaging with what it is that you provide in a meaningful way so they can join. But the problem becomes that whenever servers connect just to connect and there's nothing else, it sends a very clear negative message across both communities that there was not really any care given in this kind of formation, and it puts a bit of a negative perspective on leadership and also the community overall. But on the alternative side, if instead the partnership is approached from the perspective of, well, how is this gonna be more? How is this gonna provide value to them and also to me here at the same time? And so approaching it from the perspective of like, okay, so like if me and Gabriel, we're gonna connect our servers together, and I'm thinking that if I probably connect with Gabriel, then I'm gonna probably help him a lot with trying to, well, I guess automate, because I make a lot of automations. So I'm probably gonna, see how I can pretty up your server and try to make it nice looking, and then you would help me with something over here as well that would help the community and not necessarily me myself personally. And so that's the other perspective, is that it's a bit of a mindset change. And so typically whenever trying to find a really, really good partner, you want to try to find someone that has very similar values, and it doesn't have to have the same mission or even have to be in the roundabout the same direction, but they do need to have good values and a good community that is active and also willing to be supportive and grow and not destroy and criticize. Because there's a lot of servers out there, TTRPG servers, that do say that they are very positive, but then allow negativity to happen. So you have to be very careful to pay attention to those things and see what it is that people do and not what they say. And I mean, also in the sense of whether leadership does take accountability or not for what's happening in their server. And so a very dismissive and passive leadership is going to tell you a lot about what to expect. And so whenever I join other Discord servers and I'm thinking about possibly partnering, I just sit down and I watch what happens over the course of a week, maybe 2, maybe a month. And then after that, I decide, like, okay, I think at this point, I've seen that they've done these things, and they also have these values. and I've seen that they've been consistent in this way or that. So yeah, I would at that point maybe feel comfortable in then investing more time. And so then at that point I started to say hi. So I'm a little bit of a slow lurker for me, because I have been burned a lot in the past with having made really fast decisions, partnering with people that not only didn't add any value, but maybe even made the things worse here in the archives as a result, or maybe had impacted me negatively. And so not everyone that wants to partner is necessarily someone that you should partner with. And it's something that should take a lot of thought. And not only that, but might even include the perspectives of everyone else in your server as well. And so, like for me here, if I am going to partner with someone, I wouldn't make it about me anymore. I would basically bring other people into the conversation and see what they think before I give my answer of what I think about it. And so that's like a shift here. Have you guys partnered with any other servers or been in servers where they have partnered with other people? You guys know what I'm talking about?
Never.
No? Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty new with the whole server thing, so
okay.
no, I never had the chance.
It's entirely okay. Like, I understand. I think that getting into the online space is, well, it's very different than in person for sure. But you'll see, especially if you're advertising across other servers, you'll see that there are a lot of servers that connect each other. But what about y'all, Malik and others?
Yeah, I think I'm in the same boat. I've only been part in very casual servers, so there haven't been really any drive to have more activity or anything like that.
Yeah, I guess it'd be kind of hard to get a perspective of what that looks like without an example, huh? So something that I had done with the server that I was partnered with before, Floki's Tower, is that I was interviewing Floki's Tavern in order to kind of get to know them more, and made a video for them on YouTube. And what they would have provided in exchange is that they were going to come over here and also run a game as well. But it ended up not happening because we got too busy and ended up not partnering because of not having time. And sometimes those things do happen. But that's a little bit of an example of what an equivalent exchange would have been. Another one that I have done before is setting up a series of how to have ADHD and also do D&D at the same time, or how to help someone else that has ADHD in a game, whether they're the GM or the player, and tools that can be given or resources that can be given in order to help people understand how to interact with people in a very healthy and in a very healthy social way. So that's something that I've done with another server that was German speaking, and they helped by having some of their people come together. So it was like a group project. We did it together. So instead of me making everything and giving it, we instead did it together, and we presented it in several locations. But that was like a couple. I think that was last year in February whenever we did that. Other things are like here in the archives, we had ran world record marathons, and so the community would come together and would set up the basis of the adventure, and then I would go and look for other communities that were maybe interested in wanting to do it together, and then me and that other server would collaborate for that small amount of time. But that's not really a true partnership, though. It's more like I'll help you out for a little bit. So that's kind of really what it looks like to have this back and forth where you're giving something where both sides gain something meaningful or valuable to what it is that they're trying to do. But typically it's for the long term, though. So without me even reading off this page, you guys could probably already tell me a lot of things just based on what I've talked about so far. of what to maybe try to avoid or try to not partner with if you see a behavior that someone is having. So what kind of things would you think would be like not so great to decide to partner with if you see it happen? Nothing? You guys not?
I believe if you look at their server and it's very culturally different.
Okay, culturally different.
So if you bring those communities together, they might clash or they might not mix well.
Is being different a red flag or a green flag?
Not necessarily. I think more it's not something you should ignore for some other benefit.
Okay.
So to be mindful of that.
Okay, so it's like a middle ground, like a little bit of a beige flag. It could be good, it could be bad, just depends.
I mean, I feel like for me, it should be like it should attract a similar audience, but the server should be doing something you aren't necessarily doing. Because if they're too similar, it's like I'll just talk in one server over the other because they're very similar. But if they're too different, it's like I'm not interested in. It's something like sort of like this perfect gray area where it's like it attracts the demographic of your crowd, but like people would actually be interested in joining your server from their server and vice versa because it's just different enough that everyone's interested in exchanging members.
How would that work though? If you're looking for a server that's different enough than yours, you're basically then looking for not D&D servers, but then that means they're not same at all. So how would you decide how different it is for it to be viable?
I meant like more like culturally, like for example, if I'm like mainly a D&D guy, for like as a hypothetical, and then I find like a good I don't know, like a good Pathfinder server or something like that, and like the vibe is kind of the same, I feel like that would be like an ideal server to partner with, because like culturally it's the same, but there's like a practical reason for members of that server to join my server, and they would want to partner with me because like vice versa, stuff like that.
So let me ask everyone, I guess from a different perspective. And Gabriel, I know that you probably know because we talked about it a lot last week. What is it that people care about when they join a TTRPG server? And I mean other than playing D&D, because of course they're there to play D&D. But what is it that people actually do legitimately care about more than anything when joining a server? Number one thing, or maybe even two things.
A community they can like talk with, just in general they can vibe with.
Okay, so what does that lead to? What happens
Just
when
general like conversations, like just stuff like where they can like talk about their day or something that happened, and then people can respond back and vice versa.
And what happens whenever you do that over a long period of time? You make connections, or you feel like you belong, like you end up being part of the social group, because people have a very strong sense of wanting to belong to something or wanting to build towards something in a meaningful way. And so the servers that are not only just that are friendly, but the ones that are friendly and also have something to work towards, something to grow towards, maybe they help the world in some way, those servers end up having a much higher satisfaction rate for the members because they feel like they're contributing towards something meaningful and good, and that makes them feel good, and it feels good to be around other people that are also doing the same thing in the same interest. And so vibes are also a part of it too, right? Like being able to have a very warm and encouraging environment does help a lot. And typically whenever people join a server, within the first 30 seconds, even without saying hi to anyone, they're looking to see how encouraging and social and warm it is. And typically if people get a bad cold vibe, like it's like a ghost town, then people are kind of coming in with a bit of a sketchy vibe. Maybe they'll give it a little bit of a chance. Maybe they'll say hi and then maybe not come back if no one says hi back. But yeah, it's people are testing the waters typically when they join a server. They're trying to find a place where they can belong, or maybe they might be looking for something specific, like if they're there for advertising. But typically when people are looking for a community, especially a TTRPG community, they're looking for somewhere where they can lay down roots and kind of stay for a bit, typically, at least. And I think that we see that a lot with SPG as well. Whenever professional DMs get a player, they typically keep that player 80% of the time. And so that's also kind of reflected there as well. You know what I mean? I could end the stream early if you guys like. I'm just boring you guys, it seems. Okay. Well, you guys want to take a break? It's been about an hour, I believe.
Sure.
Okay. Gabriel?
Yeah, I'll be going because I got a session in about 20 minutes.
Sounds good.
So thank you very much, everyone.
Bye, have a good one.
Bye bye. Have a good one, y'all, as well.
All right. I know that y'all are in the on the other side of the pond. Are you guys good on energy? I don't want to go too long if it's gonna exhaust you guys. I know it's late. That's why I'm trying to be mindful.
No, I'm good on energy. It's just I'm also fairly new to SPG and so on, so I haven't gotten any players from there yet.
Okay.
Mainly experience from people outside of it.
Okay, well, welcome to the professional GM side. Yeah, typically whenever a player joins on start playing games, at least from what Devin has told us, it's a statistic of about 80% of the time that player will stay with that DM for a really long time. Unless things like scheduling or something else happens, typically the players tend to stick to the first DM that they connect with really well. But
That's really interesting.
yeah, it tends to
Yeah,
work.
that kind of makes me feel like I'm not doing a good job connecting with my players.
Sometimes it could be a hit or miss. It's not necessarily that there's anything wrong with you, although if it's happening over and over and over, then there might be something to look at there. But it also could be just a bad set of luck. Sometimes people go some time without getting a new player as well and have to change some things up. That's also natural as well. I think that well, I'll give you the marketing stuff that I taught before after we're done talking here. But I have something that'll help you a lot with trying to find the right people, so that way you have that happen a little less often. But let's go ahead and get to you want to try to find allies and friends that are going to be very similar and very cohabitative with what it is that you're trying to do, and trying to work with them in order to get to a better look to a better spot than where you are now on both sides. And so it's not just about 1 + 1 equaling 2, but whenever you guys work together, it's a multiplier effect. You should be able to come together and then make 1 + 1 = 3, or maybe even 5, depending on how it is that the collaboration really is. And so one thing that that works really well is something called I think it's like a hub and spoke model. Hub and spoke partnership model. And it's something that we had talked about here in the archives, and it's what led to, I mean, all of this happening, to having this entire month being a month of talks for growth and collaboration for Discord communities. And so what a hub and spoke model is that it's essentially that there is one main server, which I guess in this case would be the archives. And there are other servers that connect through that main server. And it's a network of servers that are connected together that all provide meaningfully to the group. And so the really good thing about that is, imagine that in being part of this group, instead of having one person run events for their server over and 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 over, you have instead like 5 people with one person alternating every month between all 5 servers that is running for like one event for the entire group overall. So that what you end up getting is that you end up decreasing burnout. You end up getting a different perspective. You start sharing ideas, and then value is given across the whole board. This also goes more than just events. Like for example, me, I publish stuff, so I could also just make a supplement and I could put it into like a group pile, and then everybody from all the servers could gather from it, and it shares with everyone, and everyone benefits from it overall. And so like a hub and spoke model is about doing stuff together, and it really kind of gathering arms with other servers that are in similar types of values and visions of what they're trying to work towards, and being able to boost each other up by providing something different that they don't normally provide, or that they normally don't give. And so, like here, next month, I'm going to be starting the, well, I say me, but myself and the other people that are interested from the server are going to be starting the West March Academy. And so we're going to find people that had never played D&D before, never picked up a D20, and we're going to teach them how to be West March GMs in 2 months. And they'll also teach other players on their last week how to play D&D that never played before. And so they'll all graduate at the same time. So it'll be like the GMs and the players graduating on week 8 at the same time. And we're going to grow the Rapid West March. Not here, it's going to be in its own server. But we're going to get essentially some more games going through here again. Because we haven't had any public games in quite some time. It's been about, oh God, how long has it been? When I first started this, it was 3 years ago. And we haven't really had a community game for D&D since, I mean, I think Marathon 3, which is a long time ago. So that's, I think, about 2 years now. This is the last time we had anything like that. And yeah, so something like that could potentially be beneficial to someone else. So like potentially another server could then also contribute either some sort of learning or maybe some sort of guidance to the people that are in that West March. And because it's external to here, it doesn't necessarily have to be owned by the archives. And so so that's essentially like one example of something that can be shared and given to someone else. But the main thing that I'm trying to get at with all of this is that there has to be a strong purpose and a strong, meaningful intention with why to partner, what it is they're partnering about, and what is expected from that connection with each other. And so things that are very strong are basically having a D&D 5e community partnering with a Pathfinder community, kind of like you were saying earlier, because they have the same interests but in different systems. And so having people that are similar enough but different in that they could provide a different perspective, it just enriches both sides, even if it isn't the same system, because it does actually help a lot to have slight variations. And so with West March communities, then it would be partnering with traditional campaign communities, or in other words, if it was a West March partnering with a professional DM where like he's the only DM, and because it's West March versus single campaign, it's different enough, right? And probably neither one is going to go to the other, but it's about making connections and adding something that the other person doesn't have. You guys kind of seeing the pattern. So it's like so to start with, knowing what it is you can't give, you have to look at what you have. You have to be very honest about what it is that you already have right now, and not what you don't have, or not what you can give. And so whenever starting to think about trying to get a group of friends together, or trying to get allies or partners to boost each other up, it's really good to sit down and really be very honest about what it is that you have there right now, and also what you can give after partnering as well. Remember how I said earlier, whenever I partnered with someone, that because we didn't have time, we both had to unpartner? It would help to kind of think that ahead of time, so that way it kind of saves time on both ends. Because the bad thing is that if you did end up partnering and then you unpartnered, it's not going to look very good on both sides. It's going to look like people that don't know how to manage their time, or don't know how to make long-term connections that maintain, which is not a very good look, I think. And I'll pause there for a second. But what do you guys think with partnering?
Well, to me, it seems like it could be beneficial, but it has to be very deliberate.
Mm-hmm.
You should do it because you have a goal, not because you just want to partner with somebody.
Exactly.
So maybe like a planned out thing.
Yeah, and you're right. And there's a lot of people that do want to partner just for being able to essentially have a really good place to have their link, but it actually ends up being the opposite effect. It ends up kind of pushing people away a little bit more. Maybe you'll get some interest, but it's not a good way to show your participation in another community. Just kind of being a silent block of text that doesn't really do much else, right, in that channel. But yeah, but yeah, you're absolutely right. What? Anyone else? Anyone else have anything else to add?
I feel like to find a server which like fits the criteria of a good partnership seems to be like really difficult. And it's like a long process. It's gonna take some time to even like find that server, let alone like actually approach their mod team and like ask for a partnership. It's like something to think about more so in the mid to long term.
It's yeah. A lot of what really kind of has those relationships come about, it's not because you're looking for them, but naturally things that are similar enough together, they have a way of coming together naturally. And things that really oppose each other, they don't come close to each other at all. But you're right, like and this is something that I had the conversation with someone last week that was also expressing the same thing about how they can't find, and this is like, comparison to personal stuff, but they can't find a girlfriend essentially to keep for a long time. It's like, okay, well, what are you doing in order to try to find someone that is compatible? And so what I'm trying to get at with that is that sometimes it's more so that maybe there's something here with the energy that we're giving off. It might be something with maybe something we're doing is inconsistent. Maybe the image that we have is not, or the brand that we have is not a good one. Maybe there's been some things that happened in the past, or maybe we're not very visible yet. And so at the start, it could feel very, very hard to try to find someone that is compatible, right, to being a partner. But if that community is consistently doing the same thing and they're working towards the same goal in the same way, and they're doing it together, then eventually they'll find themselves around at least one other community eventually. And once they kind of find themselves to one, then it kind of leads to another, and then another. And as they get more people and people are coming together and more is happening, it becomes really hard to not see you, to not see you out there. Like, and so it's all a matter of consistency and just being in the community overall. If someone isn't really saying much or is rather new, then it's understandable. They're going to take some time to be seen. But if you're making content and you're helping people and you're talking to people and you're trying to make these connections, then at some point you will sooner or later bump to the right people. But you're right, it kind of does take some time to kind of get to that point. Sometimes it's just kind of chance, or you can also go out there and try to find that community yourself as well. But you really have to know what it is that you're looking for in that case.
I'm just trying to think of how I would get my community to engage with another server.
Well, how would you bring up this cool, awesome server that they haven't heard about? You probably tell your friend about it first, right? You're like, hey guys, like, look, I found this other server. I think it comes to just knowing that they exist, and then maybe inviting a person or two to come with you to that other server and trying to mix match. At least that's what I've seen, what I've done with whenever I was with like Floki's Tavern and other servers before, is that I would invite them to come with me to go meet them, or some of them would come over here and then come meet some of our members as well. And so it's seeing that not only that you're contributing, but also that they're contributing back. So I think it would be very hard to have a conversation if there's no feedback, right? So yeah, I guess it would just start with someone just saying like, hey, let's go over there, or let's look at this cool place.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And if you were really wanting to like push the like, hey, like I kind of want to partner with these people, trying to preemptively try to set up an event with that other server, try to see what their events are like, so you could go to their event with some people from your server, and then naturally that'll create more connections. So that's always something you could do as well. Just trying to find reasons to connect people together. But okay, so let's talk about the green flags. So things that you want to look for typically in any kind of community for partnering is that you want them to be consistent with moderation, and you want them to enforce their standards. And so those are both very important. Yeah, the leadership has to be active and engaged, and there has to be very clear reason for the community for existing. More than just a place to play games, they also do something else as well. Now, in addition to that, leadership has to be willing to have a conversation, even if it's difficult, even if it's one that maybe they don't want to have, but they know they need to have it because it's otherwise will not be good to avoid or be to be distant of fixing a problem. And then the last thing is having transparent communication and having maybe a little bit of a track record of having successful collaboration with others. Although it's understandable that sometimes people do also break from not having time, or maybe there was a change in the direction that one server took versus the other. All right, so red flags. What are some red flags that you guys think would be for you personally for not wanting to partner with someone or a server? Maybe things that you don't like.
This is kind of a,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's kind of like a red flag, but just like something just that would not be like interesting by default to like the people in my server. Like if I find a cool server, but it just has like nothing in common with the average person in my server would like, then I don't see a point of like partnering with it, even if I like personally like it.
Okay, so
Like there's no shared
okay.
like goal or like vibe, or like nothing's really shared as a community. It's just a cool server, but like that's like that's all it has going for it.
Okay.
In terms of like partnerships.
I guess let's talk in a general sense. What would make a server a bad server, no matter how you look at it?
Poorly managed.
Maybe ones that here's some good ones. It's an 18+ server with no identification, and it's got NSFW channels with underage 18 people in it. That happens a lot, by the way, in this space. Do report it. Also, inconsistent or absent moderation. A lot of chat that breaks community guidelines. I'm talking about, I mean, I want to bring all the things up, but there's a lot of things that can be talked about that are not healthy to talk about. Very negative behavior that either isolates people, makes people feel less than who they are. Silencing others is also not good. So like if people are muting others in the VC just because they don't want to hear them, that's definitely a very bad thing. Very judgmental and very negative perspective on people coming in. Maybe no one is saying hello at all, or maybe they don't, or maybe you say hello, they just kind of acknowledge you and then just kind of go about their day. That's also a very bad thing. There's a lot of things like in addition to that, probably so many things that we could think of that would be a very hard red flag, but really just kind of comes down to, are they respecting you? Do they want you to be there? Do they actually have something that is good, or is it something that is going to diminish and destroy? And so I think that those red flags I think are very obvious, but the ones that are kind of subtle that you're not going to see very consistently the ones where everything maybe seems a little bit okay, but your values are just slightly off enough that there's going to be enough friction that it might be a little bit of a bumpy collaboration. And so maybe it's that they have a really great community, but maybe the leader isn't a great leader. And so even though it kind of seems like it's thriving on the outside, when you look underneath, you kind of see that it's maybe not as great. And so it's questionable, you know, if maybe you should partner with that server or not. And all of that really kind of comes down to what it is that you're willing to kind of compromise a little bit on and what you're not. And so like for someone like me, like I'm not willing to compromise my self-respect. And so I'll never go to a place where someone is disrespectful towards me or is, and then of course does, like no one does anything as well. So I would not like something like that. And I also don't tolerate that here either. But I would be okay if, you know, if it's not entirely D&D. And so there's like another server that is more about neurodivergency. And they are all about connecting people together, which is what I'm about as well, D&D or not. And so I'm okay with compromising on a topic, but then like Malik, like maybe you might not compromise on that. You probably want it to be kind of similar, it sounds like, to your server, which is entirely understandable. And so being able to know where it is that you're staying from and what you want and what you don't want is a good thing to know before getting into any sort of engagement. It's kind of like you're making a deal almost, or like you're bartering, maybe not bartering. Bartering's not the right word, but it's like you're coming here and you're basically trying to make a deal on what it is that you both can provide. And it's really good to know what it is that you're willing to move on and what you're not. So that way you can try to leverage what you can and try to give meaning to both sides in the ways that you can and not past your limits, right? Because then the next thing you know, you might actually accidentally agree to something that maybe you wouldn't have agreed on if you thought about it a little more. Or maybe if maybe had given more time to reflect on things. But, you know, it's neither here nor there either. But okay. How are you guys feeling?
I think I'm like learning a lot on like how to actually find a partnership. Like earlier, I wasn't thinking about it that much, and I'm starting to realize that it does have a lot of potential, and I do feel like I'm learning on how to like vet what servers I should partner with.
Yeah, it's I think also in the greater scheme of life, I think what is the statistic they say? The 5 people that you associate yourself with the most, or that you talk with the most, are what ends up being your set of systems and values and the way that you see the world and what it is that you're basically going to contribute, or what to expect from you essentially. And I think it's the same thing here. Like if you surround yourself with really people that just don't give a lot of attention to who they are, what they're kind of giving, then it's like socializing is very contagious, and so you kind of catch some of it. And so that's why people tend to avoid others that are either sad or not very happy, because they don't want to catch some of the negative socialization of that. And in the opposite sense, just as well, if you hang around people that are very active in their life, like they're very positive, they're working towards something meaningful, maybe they have a wife, they have kids, maybe they have people that love them, then some of that would also rub off on you as well. And so it ends up being a very uplifting experience to surround yourself with people like that. And I will say that personally, whenever I first switched into this space, into being a professional GM, one of the hardest things that I had to deal with was not the new relationships, but whenever I became too different to be friends with the people that I was friends with before, but not good enough to be friends with the people that are coming up later in life. And so it's kind of like a middle area where you don't belong on either side, because you're not far enough in one direction and you kind of steered too far away from the previous one. And it's a little bit of an awkward space to be in, especially for the first time. If when starting to go into business and entrepreneurship, because the natural tendency is to want to go back to where we came from, because that's what we know and that's what we're familiar with. But the problem is that if you go back, you can't go forward, which means that you're stuck in the past and you can't then be up here, which means that you can't grow. And so sometimes it means having to move on from others that maybe don't have the same overlaps that we do anymore. And that's like a normal part of life, but it can feel very isolating. It can feel very lonely, I will say. And sometimes it could last a couple of weeks or a couple of years, maybe longer than that. It just depends on how long it takes for someone to get to where it is that they're trying to get to and what it is that their path is like. So yeah, I think that pretty much described adulthood in a nutshell with that. But I think the people that do tend to attract the most attention and tend to get the most luck and also the most back are the people that give an unreasonable amount to others and don't expect anything back. Like I think it was even research that the people that were the most successful, having like very happy relationships or having a very good place to live, they had good finances and everything, they gave a lot of stuff away, like, and I mean like an exceptional amount away, whether it was time, money, or something else. And then those dividends would end up coming back later in life. And not because they were aiming for that, but because of just the way that I guess that ends up working out. So yeah, and I think a lot of that just kind of comes down to, it just comes down to mindset from the very beginning.
Yeah, I think today learned two things. First one was I learned a lot about Discord servers and communities and how they work in general, because I've been a very casual user of Discord and usually just chatted with people I knew before and so on. So it was eye-opening in many ways.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is I actually got excited because because first of all, before I didn't really know what having your own Discord community and such would look like, but right now, if I can set up a community that fits my style of community management and so on, then that role might actually fit me quite well.
Oh, that's the nice part. Whenever you're starting out and you get to pick the colors, you get to pick what it looks like, you get to pick the aesthetic, you get to pick the soundboard, you get to pick the emojis. I think that's the part that excites me a lot too. And then it gets exciting if people boost your server and it gets to the next level and you can add even more stuff. But then it's like other people add their things in. It's kind of cool seeing what people contribute sometimes. I think I'm glad to hear that you're excited though. It's very, how can I put it? The arc. So we've been here since 3 years now, and in those 3 years we've had this is gonna be now our 4th different era of people, because I had changed my business 4 times. And so I started out as a streamer on Twitch, and then I switched to being a professional GM, and then I was a publisher and ran West Marches, and now I don't run games at all. I make technology and software for other GMs and West Marches as well. So that's 4 different audiences. I was doing it for entertainment for people, and then I was basically bringing people here to have fun and do things at the start. And then I wasn't doing that at all, and I was only doing it for pay. And then I was making things to publish, and now I don't even play D&D. So you kind of see it's a lot of turbulence with me, but it's because I have a plan of what I want to do, and I want to make West March software on a website, so that way people don't have to worry about the logistics of having to run all of the complicated parts of having to manage people and things. But it does put me on a little bit of a turbulent ride, so it's kind of hard to come on that whenever other people join for other things. But in any case, so this is our 4th era. So next month is going to start the beginning of the 4th one, with the West March coming back with Rapinathic. So yeah, I'm really excited for that. But yeah, it does feel good to have people around you that care about you and also that stand up for you too. I've seen people that would come in here, they would insult me, and then other people would just do stuff, and I don't do anything. I'm just like, what happened? It's nice whenever you feel loved. Love is good, and I think that if you build a place that can have that, then you will naturally get it, because you basically made it. So it's good to see other people enjoy the things that you make. And I think it's the same thing as DMs too, right? Like we run games and other people enjoy it, and then we enjoy that they enjoy it. I think it's the same thing there as well. But okay, I won't talk anymore about partnership. This is a very long document I put together. It's about 30 pages, and that was only the first 2 pages that I just talked about. So what do you guys think about that little intro to partnering? Oh, by the way, if you guys want it, if you guys are watching the YouTube video, I'm gonna leave a link in the description, but you also can get it from the archives. I'm also gonna make this entire stack into different videos eventually, but it's also gonna be available in the Archives Academy modules whenever the Archives Academy gets a little bit more along than it is right now. So that way you can learn this in a little bit different of a fashion rather than just reading it or waiting for a video to come out. But aside that, yeah, like what do you guys think about the partnership aspect of it? It's also maybe a little too soon to worry too much about it, but you guys have any thoughts on what kind of servers or communities you might want to be wanting to partner with later, potentially?
Well, for me, my idea is going in the direction that there aren't many of like TTRPG communities and so on in my corner of the world. So finding those collaborations is going to be even more important at some point.
What is it okay to ask what country you're from?
Yeah, Estonia.
Oh, Estonia, that's right.
It's like there are people that are playing TTRPGs and there have been for a while. But it's like a secret society. You don't know who has or where and when.
I think that would be a good. I think that's a good flag to kind of bear. It's like, hey, we play D&D, and it's also a place for people that are in Europe to go and connect to the people that are also from Europe. Because you're right, there's not a lot of places that are like that. Even like Reddit LFG Europe, they have a server, but they're not active on Discord. So I don't think I've seen any other than the German server. I haven't seen any other big European servers, but also haven't looked for them either. So I'm not really sure what's out there. But I'm sure that would probably be a very good like flag to kind of come under, trying to come under a general area, because there's a lot of people that are isolated from each other, because I see them come from SPG in small numbers, like every now and then, but not in bunches. And so I think it'd be kind of cool if you could unite a bunch of people that are professional GMs and also from Europe together under the same server. I think that would you probably have a good, strong force to be able to do a lot more for yourselves, because I think it's hard to advertise in Europe, is like when everyone's so spread apart and there's not enough professional GMs to kind of make connections in the space, at least from what I've seen.
The way I sort of phrase it is, it's like Europe lacks the infrastructure for that. The role-playing games haven't been here for long enough for those communities to be created. So now I get to be one of the people who creates those things.
Ah, okay, so maybe you'll be the person teaching the people in your community. So then, there you go. So I guess that would do it. Oh, but I suppose you would have to do it online or in person as well. In person could also be just as good. Maybe a little harder, but we could definitely do it online for sure. But okay, so here's the last part. And I probably should not have saved this for last, but I did save these two, I guess this one, for last, because it's something that, how can I put this? I used to not be a good person when I started out. I'll put it that way. I was an asshole. I was very arrogant. I actually worked in neuroscience before, and I am incredibly intelligent, I'll admit, but I didn't have a very good way of expressing gratitude towards others. And so it took a lot of me hitting a wall with that, and me like basically dealing with my own flaws over years to get to the point where I don't have any ill will intent towards others anymore. And so I don't I used to be a little bit I used to be a little bit manipulative, a little. Not I don't believe in that way of like leading anymore. But it's something that is hard to grow out of because I wanted to make a difference in connecting people together. And so in order to get to that point, I needed to overcome things about myself that would not allow me to do that, right? Like no one's gonna follow someone that's trying to manipulate them. No one's gonna follow someone that is gonna be aggressive or not empathetic or not even gonna listen to them, right? We're not wanting to help. We're just wanting something from them. No one wants to be around stuff like that. And the thing is that it's very easy nowadays for people to cut themselves off from people that do kind of bring a little bit of the mirror up to show them the bad that they have in them a bit. And sometimes it can be very brutal to see the development or to kind of feel that development and kind of feel the pain and trying to understand and grow from it and not try to become bitter. And it's why a lot of RPG horror stories are out there about community leaders that nuke their server, that get upset at their players because they don't care, that stop having hope and start becoming more on the negative. But the problem is that even if those people push the other people away, the one person they can't run from is themselves. And they're the problem, they're the person that they're needing to fix and not necessarily others. And so what I'm trying to say with all of this is that leading a community is not just about putting good intentions and hoping it happens. It also means making a commitment that you're gonna do better for yourself. Because then if you don't, then you can't really help other people if you're not also trying to be receptive or trying to be someone that can solve problems and not causing problems, right? And not everyone can do that. And it takes a lot of courage. It really a lot of willingness to put up with that kind of like that you will not accept yourself to be that way and rejecting yourself, but then accepting a better version of yourself and working towards that. And that could be very cool in a sense. It's kind of like that Rocky moment where you kind of train for a long time, but instead of it being 5 seconds, it's 5 years. And I do mean like it sometimes will take about that long in order for you to undo old habits, meet new people, get new habits, meet new, and then, you know, and then get to a spot where you are very different than you were before. And the way that you know that maybe there might be something wrong and maybe no one is telling you, if you find yourself consistently losing the people around you, or people don't want to approach you, or maybe you're trying really hard, and despite you trying very hard, it feels like you're going backwards, or you're not going anywhere at all, then it might mean that you might need to take a moment to really sit down and think about what is happening inside, because mindset is a big part of it. But the thing is that we're biased. We want to self-preserve the way that we feel about ourselves. But the problem about that is that it's a lie and it's a delusion. If you look at the lies and the illusions of what's in front of you, then you're never looking at the truth of what's there. And if you can never find the truth, then you can never fix the problem until you look at it for what it is. But sometimes it's very hard to know that there's even anything wrong unless it's obvious, right? Unless there's something that either hurts us or is causing us some sort of pain. And as much as this kind of sucks to say, sometimes people don't change until it is more painful to be who they are right now than to be someone better. Because why would I want to sit with more pain when I could just not, you know, be that way and then sit with less pain, right? And I think that's a very hard road to walk on, because I've been on that road. where I did have to kind of get to that point where I was at my bottomest of all things, and I could have quit, and I could have not done it. I could be like, fuck it, you know, yeah, all D&D players are toxic, whatever. But I didn't do that, and I just kind of accepted, like, yeah, I got to do this for not only myself but other people that I haven't even met yet, which I guess would be you guys today, to help them get where they want to go. Because if I don't, then they might not get the help that they need, and then maybe, you know, just kind of like trying to keep myself in my head of like what it is that I'm really trying to work towards. And so if you're wanting to grow a community, it's not just about having a set of things that you like. It's also having a reason that can withstand any how. So no matter what happens, you won't give up. So you can deal with the things that make life hard, or that make things hard, because it's going to get hard. It's not always going to be nice to deal with other people's stuff. To deal with when you're dealing with your own stuff, and you don't even have energy to deal with the things that people are bringing onto you, but you have to, you know, still give them the good front. You can't just tell them to go away. You can't tell other people to you know, you can't react to those things as well, right? So there's a lot of discipline that comes with being a leader, and acknowledging that you're putting yourself in a spot where people are watching you. And even as a professional GM, I guess that's also true. But even more so if you're a professional and you're also trying to be a leader as well. On top of that, you're kind of elevating yourself, and you're making a statement, but you will absolutely ruin your reputation if you keep yourself there and you keep trying, and you're trying in the way that it's not supposed to be done, and you're not realizing what's happening. And then next thing you know, you're just kind of like isolated. And that's a very shitty spot to be in. For me, it took 11 months for me to kind of realize, like, wow, I'm a piece of shit. Not anymore. I laugh about it, and I say it like that now. And I do a lot of work to help other people, genuinely, I do. But that wasn't necessarily the case before. I was very transactional before. And it took me having to really undo a lot of habits from, you know, from people that I had growing up as friends, or my parents, or whatever, to realize, like, yeah, that's not a good thing to that's not a good thing to know or believe. And it's going to be sometimes our own judgments or the way that we perceive things that could actually end up making something not succeed. And I think for me, it's like, I just would never want to be the reason why someone else doesn't achieve their dream or their goal. I think that would be a very shitty thing if I'm in their way, rather than being the person that leads the way. So I had to essentially undo all of that years and years and years of bad habits that I didn't even know were bad habits, until I got to a point where I'm like, this isn't good. This doesn't seem like a good spot to be, guys. We're all alone, and and no one is talking to us. What's happening? But it is possible. But ultimately, sometimes, like a reality check, it doesn't have to be brutal or tough. It just has to be honest. And it's being able to have a conversation with yourself without being judgmental, without looking at yourself and being like, without, you know, talking yourself down. Because the one person that's always going to be there for yourself is always going to be you. So even if it's just you clapping for yourself for like a really long time, for a year or two, and no one else is clapping except you, at least you know you're clapping. And so as long as you don't give up on what it is that you're working towards, whether it's your career as a pro GM, whether it's you see something that you want to see change in the world, so you aspire towards it. Even if it's just you sitting in the VC for 6 hours every day, and then people look at you weird, so what? You're trying to make a statement, I guess, in doing that. And I think that the only validation you need in knowing that you're going the right way is your own. And so if you're genuinely making the differences that you want to see, and you are genuinely going out there, and you're not just, you know, playing League of Legends all day, and you're instead trying to learn how to lead people better, or instead of making excuses, you're taking ownership over the things that you maybe did or didn't do. Or maybe instead of putting off the thing that you said you would do, you keep that promise to yourself. Then you start to get a lot more self-respect for yourself, and you start to feel powerful. And then you get to a point where you can then give to others because you have mastered yourself, your emotions, your drive, and then you also are then giving meaningfully to others from that as well. And it's not easy to get to that point, but I think I can say that no one is going to follow someone that is unpredictable, uncaring, authoritative, reactive. I think that people do see past things that, you know, are not real, right? So the lies and everything, they can see in the things that people are doing. And I think that people value the person that is trying anyways, even though they maybe not be the best person for it, but they're putting themselves through it, and they work really hard to get to be that thing or try to get what they want, because they did that work to change themselves, and they forced the outcome, maybe by sheer will, but maybe also by strategy as well. And it takes a special kind of person to kind of be that. And so the communities that are the most successful are the ones that are led by people that not only are good at talking with others, but have been through a lot of bullshit in their life, because they understand what it means to feel pain and sorrow, and they can feel that empathy, and they know what it feels like to lose stuff and not necessarily win all the time. And they pull from that in order to kind of understand others, and kind of, instead of trying to make a barrier. And so those people, they have something they see in the world, and they want to fix it or maybe make something better. But if that's not you, you don't have that either. And so I think that's the last part, is that a really good server has people that understand others in multiple facets. And there's many different types of ways that people experience life. So being around people that know different things and know them to different depths, it doesn't limit you. It opens up more doors, because you could solve more problems, because without their help, you wouldn't be able to solve those problems. So, like, if I didn't know, I'll just pick someone. If I didn't know, I won't say their name, but if I know this one person, I probably wouldn't know so much about cleaning dogs, because she cleans dog fur for a living. If I didn't know this one other person, I would know so much about, honestly, the niche law of books in a library in Washington. It's probably never going to come up, but being able to make connections over time is good. You never want to be on a boat by yourself at the end of life. You want to be surrounded by others, but to kind of get there, you kind of have to give first. So there we go. That's the end of week 3. It's probably the most, probably the biggest thing that's going to be a barrier is not the people in the server. It's the person that's trying to lead the server that's going to 99% of the time make or break what happens. And that's it. And the stream is going to end